Welcome to our I Am Workshop Conversation Series, a transformative journey designed to inspire self discovery. Today's guest is Nicole Stott, an astronaut, aquanaut, artist, author of Back to Earth: What Life in Space Taught Me About Our Home Planet and Our Mission to Protect It. And most importantly, she's a mom. Welcome to our show, Nicole. Thank you for
Happy
being
to be here, ladies. Yeah, it's about
Thank
time,
you.
Welcome,
right?
Nicole.
So,
Yeah.
can you describe a moment in your journey where fear or uncertainty became the catalyst for transformation?
Oh, wow.
Or a moment in your life that
Yeah.
changed you from who you were before to who you are now, something that changed.
Oh, well, there's a lot of things that changed me, but that fear one, that's interesting because I don't, a lot of times I get the question, was it, scary to go to space and what were you afraid of and all, that kind of thing. And fear wasn't really involved with that, right? But in preparing to do all that,
My God.
there was fear, and that was something that really stands out to me as uh, like a big deal was I got to do this underwater mission, right? I got to go live for 18 days on this undersea habitat. And when I discovered what we had to do to train to prepare for that, it really scared me because I was a scuba diver, but I considered myself a recreational scuba diver. I didn't want somebody messing with my mask or taking my regulator out of my mouth or, any of that kind of what I thought of as exotic stuff when it came to being underwater. It really freaked me out to think about that. And so what this, it, I think what fear did for me in all of that, it made me realize that I had to take control of it, right?
Hmm.
I had to put myself in a position to be able to do all of these things they were going to ask me to do underwater so that I would be able to do this mission safely. And I had to overcome that on my own. So I had to go find people to help me figure out how to be comfortable with my regulator in my mouth, but with my mask off, swimming for a long time. I had to get people to help me feel comfortable dealing with something underwater that was going wrong, instead of shooting to the surface to solve that problem. And I had to deal with things like a swim test that, I
Hmm.
mean, again, I'm like a casual, I'm like a wiki-watchy swimmer, grew up in Florida, but never did the swim thing kind of thing, just always played in the water. And so swimming so a distance in a certain amount of time, really, or underwater for a long distance on one breath, I had to do the things and get the help that I needed to do those things so that I wouldn't be afraid of it when I went to train for this mission. And it was the most liberating thing to do that. And I think about that anytime I'm afraid of stuff. It's like, okay, what do I have control of that I can maybe manage myself or get somebody, reach out to somebody else to help me to manage. And that's kind of a hard part. Like, oh, I suck at, swimming laps and getting somebody to help me, being willing to ask for the help. And I'm so glad that I did.
I
Yeah.
also I wanted to ask you. You were an aquanaut. I just asked Lolly before you were an astronaut, correct?
Yeah, definitely. The whole underwater thing was purposefully in preparation for going to space. So we always joke, Lolly's heard this, that we get to go live and work in inner space to learn how to live and work in outer space.
Okay.
And absolutely the best analog to what it's like to live in space.
And when you were younger, as growing up, did things did things frighten you, or were you just that type of person that was like, no, that doesn't bother me. I'm going to conquer this, or were you sort of curious but stood back? How were you?
Yeah, I think there was a mix of it. I mean, I was always willing to try things, but I was, I tended to kind of second guess whether I would be good at something or not.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm really grateful, for my mom and my dad for getting me and my sisters out and about, like whether that was at the airport and meeting
Yeah.
people, where I really discovered this love of flying. And, on my own, I never would have done that. And, even with my dad building and flying small airplanes. I don't know that I would have like pushed on my own to like get out there, but my mom made a point of taking us there. And so I discovered things I really loved. And then, she's the one who signed us up for ballet or softball or whatever. And I remember being a little, hesitant and all those things, but kind of
Were you a
finding my
shy
way.
person or not really?
I wasn't really shy, but I remember being in awe of our son, of Roman, as a kid, because he's an only child, and we would go to the beach, and he would just, from the littlest, from when he could walk away from the beach chairs, he'd be going to find some other kid to play with or build a castle with or something. I never would have done that as a kid. I'd been hanging right by my mom's leg. And if I was going to meet any other kid, it was going to be because she took me there, not because I decided to do that on my own. And I think I tend to be a little bit like that now too. I'm not this natural social butterfly, right? Like my husband can go into a room and he can be friends with everybody and know something about them, very quickly, just meandering around. I'm looking for one of you guys in the room so I can go stand with you and meet people that way.
I wanted to just also have a little background, from when you became an aquanaut. What was that right after college?
No, that was all part of the NASA astronaut office training. So
Okay.
we do a lot of things in the office in preparation for space flight called expeditionary training, where you're going out to, I mean, there were things like going out to the Utah Canyon lands, and it was just the six of us for 10 days, carrying in and out everything. And that was a challenge for me too. I've never been the hiker person, right? So now we're doing these, we're rappelling, we're doing some climbs like I'd never done before, and having to get out of that
Mm-hmm.
comfort zone as well. And things like water, cold weather survival, and winter survival, water survival, those kinds of things that always have this, they all have this element of extreme kind of going on with them,
It sounds
where
like special forces.
yeah, a little bit, a little
Yeah.
bit, but like the cold weather or the winter survival. I mean, we did that. There were two of them, and one was there were six of us out in Valcartier, Canada. It was like the coldest winter they'd had in 100 years, and there was snow up to our hips, and we're, trudging through this for 8 days. And I mean, I was in such good shape after that, but after all these trips, really. But
My God.
things that I just on my own wouldn't do, right?
Right.
Or that I just never had really done myself. And then the Russian winter survival that we did was it
Oh my
was
God.
again like minus 40 degrees, the
Wow.
Fahrenheit and centigrade, it doesn't matter, they're the
Wow.
same. And it was awesome. It was like 3 days out in, the Russian wilderness with your parachutes and building fires and stuff like that. And all
So you were
really,
parachuting.
no, we didn't. We just had the
Oh.
parachutes from inside of the spacecraft, to
Okay.
use to make
Okay.
our. I wish we were
Yeah.
parachuting, would have been fun, but but we, so you use everything that you have inside the spacecraft. It's kind of like, oh, you landed in the wrong place, and you got to wait for your rescue people to come get you. So how are you going to survive in the,
Survive that. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
Well,
while
that's
you're waiting?
preparation for no
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah,
Right
It
there.
is, and
Nicole.
it's like, and like relying on your crewmates too.
Mhm.
One of the coolest things was, you're doing all this stuff, and like for me, like I said, a lot of it was things I had never really done before, and so you're discovering a lot about yourself. Like the strengths
Hmm.
and weaknesses, and how to ask for help, and kind of paying attention to your crewmates and saying, okay, Bob is really good at this stuff. So, let's rely on Bob for that stuff and let him help us with that kind of thing. And then I think Bob will recognize that I'm good at these things. And, how you
Yeah.
just have to be willing and be willing to acknowledge that you have weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
That you're not
Yeah.
good at it all.
That's
Very important.
very
Very
important.
important.
Yeah.
And so each of you have your own talents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I really think a lot of that is what makes, and I think outside of the astronaut office too, bringing all those different kinds of strengths and weaknesses
Mhm.
together and leveraging them to,
It's a
have
collective.
success on
Yeah.
whatever your mission
Hmm.
is, right?
Hmm.
Um, And it's so much fun once you allow yourself, I think, to accept that you're not good at everything.
Amazing. Yeah,
It's
Nicole,
hard to
that's part
do,
of the
dude.
part of the
yeah.
process.
So after you
One
were,
question,
oh,
Nicole,
okay.
that I was thinking, and how was your first flight to space? I mean, what were your feelings? I mean, I know you maybe have been asked this question a lot, but how old were you, and what was it? I mean, it's you're out there in space alone, and
She
it's
has to
always
get the calculator.
oh
I
my
always
God.
forget.
Yeah, because well, not necessarily how old you were, but it's like I just thinking about it, I get a panic attack. I mean, you're out there. I mean,
And
you
was
just
it
have to surrender.
right after
Yeah.
you were an Aquanaut? Did this?
It was about 3 years later.
Okay.
So, the Aquanaut thing was part of that training. It really, I think it was the best training. You're in this extreme environment at 60 feet underwater. It's a habitat that's about the size of a school bus. Once you're down there at 60 feet for over an hour, your body has too much nitrogen in it for you to just swim to the surface. So you have to, when things do go wrong, as they will, you have to deal with it 60 feet underwater. Otherwise, you're likely to kill yourself if you swim to the surface. And so that's so much like what it is to be in space, where you can't just hop in your spaceship anytime you want if something goes wrong and head home. You've got to take care of your crew first, make sure everybody's okay, make sure your vehicle's good before you can do any of
Mhm.
that. And so that Aquarius habitat, that undersea mission really was honestly the closest you can get to what it's like to live in space. And it's like the Earth is surrounding you, the planet is surrounding you underwater like that. And I remember these ginormous groupers swimming by the window every night, and they're looking in, and all I can imagine is they're thinking, "Ooh, who's in the little Aquarius habitat now?" Like,
It became
because
your
we're not the
friends.
ones that are supposed to be there. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
You must have
it was,
seen some interesting um, fish when you were down there at that
yeah, it's
60
because
feet.
it's an Anna Marie. I will answer your question. I was
Sorry.
reading to the answer, but it's extraordinary. It's in this protected reef
Yeah.
off the coast of Key Largo. It's just stunning. I mean, like the whole bottom of the habitat was like this beautiful garden of coral and sponges and fish. And I mean, it was just really, really stunning. And so, every night you'd have the barracuda, flocking in. You had these Goliath grouper that were longer than my tip, huge, that would come by every day in the morning and at night and look in. And then all of what you can imagine the rest of the reef life would be. It was really, really, really cool.
So
But that
after
whole
that, that prepared you for your first flight, right?
Yeah, so that along with all this other stuff, and you're also doing all this training to learn about, it's kind of like a lot like going back to school, like all the
Mm.
systems on your spaceship. How does the environmental control system that keeps you alive work? How does the kitchen work? I mean, all the bathroom. I mean, all of these things, not to mention like the science equipment that you're going to use, and maybe if you're going to do a spacewalk, all of that stuff. You've got to train to do it. And
Mm.
so I did that undersea thing in 2006. And then right about that time is when I got assigned to my first space flight. And at that time, to fly, which my first flight was a long duration mission and on the International Space Station. And so the training was like 2.5 to 3 years for those flights, because you went through a whole training flow where you were a backup to somebody that was
Mhm.
getting ready to fly. And then you did your primary mission training. And they've scrunched that way down now. And we could have told them they could have scrunched it way down back then too, but. And so it was about 3 years then, very focused preparation for that mission. And
Mhm.
I don't think anything prepares you for launching on a spaceship the first time. As much as
Mhm.
you try to prepare for,
It's a
you can be,
mindset, right?
yeah, it is, it
Yeah.
is. I
Yeah.
mean, you can prepare for all the technical stuff and all that, but the way you're going to feel and how um, I don't know, anxious you're going to be, right? And when
Mhm.
I think about the anxiety that I was having, it was more about, man, I really want to know what this is going to feel like. I want to get to space. I've been training to do this for so long. I want to know what it's like to float and fly and move that way, and to ultimately do a spacewalk and look out the window, all those things that go along with being there. But the anxiety on the other side, that fear related kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
it was funny because it had nothing to do with me worrying about myself or my crew. I mean, we train so much for all the things we think or know can go wrong
Mm-hmm.
that I think we feel like if something's going to go wrong, if it's humanly possible to deal with it, we'll deal with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But so I wasn't afraid of that stuff. But what I was afraid of was my 7-year-old son and
Mm-hmm.
my husband
Yeah,
and
the
my mom and
family.
my
Yeah.
sisters and my friends watching me do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a lot more difficult. And I even for me, when I watch my friends fly, or even people that I don't know that are flying, I'm like, it's a lot more difficult and scary actually to watch somebody else strapping into the rocket than it is to be the person doing it.
Do you have to surrender? Would that be the word once you're up there? We're talking about your feelings up there. There's anxiety, but you have to get to the point that you have to be or either really positive or just surrender and trust because you have nowhere else. I mean, you cannot have negative thinking, right?
Yeah, I don't know that that completely goes away. You're 6 people or 7 people, human beings living in this relatively confined space. So, you're going to be a human being there. And you're trying to stay, we had really good, great communication with our friends and our families on the ground. So I could talk to my family every night from up there, did a video conference once a week. And so you're trying to stay connected that way, through that. But I think, like when I was in space, again, I wasn't worried about the spaceship. I mean, I wasn't worried about something happening there because I really felt like we could deal with it if that was possible. What I
Mm-hmm.
was worried then from there was something happening to my 7-year-old son or my mom or my husband
Yeah.
or, and I can't get there. So,
Yeah.
it's weird how, and I don't think you can disconnect from that. I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
you can understand where you are. You can, um, maybe even imagine what that might be like and how you'll respond to it. But I don't think you can completely surrender those kinds of feelings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't let them take over either. I mean, I couldn't every day be like, oh my gosh, I'm worried about you
No.
can't do that. You can't do that anywhere. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm worried about what's going to go on with my son who's 23 now, no matter where I am, right? So I think it's just what parents do. But
And you had two space flights, is that correct?
Yeah.
2 space flights. Yep, but they were about a year and a half apart. And my first one was what we call long duration. So I was up there for about 4 months on the space station. And then my
Four
second flight,
months out there. Oh my
yeah,
God.
not long enough. I mean, not long enough. And then I go back the second time and it's only 2 weeks, which I will never complain about those 2 weeks in space, but holy moly, they had to pull my clawing hands off the hatch to get me back into the shuttle to come home. It's such an extraordinary place. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I honestly, it's not, I don't think it's a boasting kind of, I mean, I really felt like I did good work there. I felt like I
Mhm.
just adapted quickly to being there, like space liked me. Like I almost like I was meant to be there and work there and do the things we were doing there. So on both of those flights, whether it was, 4 months or 2 weeks, I felt like, oh my gosh, I need to stay here longer almost. It's like I felt like it was something that was
Did it
What a dream.
worthwhile
And
too.
Nicole, how were your dreams in space? Did they
That was a
change?
really, yeah, that was a cool thing because I did dream while I was there. I mean, and I'm not a when I was younger, I had much more vivid dreams that I actually would remember and that kind of stuff than I do now in my old age. But and by the way, I was 47 when I flew the first time. So I
Wow.
always have to do the math because I want to think that it was
Yeah,
37,
that was the
37, but it
question.
was
Is like,
really 47. And so but one thing that really stood out to me about dreaming up there was that all my life before I flew in space, just periodically would have this dream about running in my dream and jumping and trying to fly, like
Right.
flying on your own, and how joyful I would feel. Like I in my dream be thinking about how much joy I was feeling as the person who was having that dream about being able to jump and fly just on
Right.
my own. And then there were the dreams where you jump and you try to fly and you can't fly and you don't know why and you keep jumping and trying to fly and it doesn't work and you're getting pissed off, excuse my language, but it's frustrating because you don't
Mhm.
know
yeah,
why in this dream
yeah.
I'm not able to fly. What's going on in my life that's keeping me from flying, right? But then when I got to space, my dream started to incorporate the things that I was feeling and doing in that floaty environment, which included flying, right? Included floating and flying. And I have never, ever since then had that run and jump and try to fly dream again.
Oh,
Ever.
Mm.
Not in space and not down here on Earth. And I get goosebumps about it because I don't know why. I've never really talked to anybody about why. And I don't think
Been there, done that.
the folks at NASA, I think that's it. I think my brain, my body understand it. It makes sense to do something like that. So it's not.
Mhm.
And I do dream about space, about being in that place and moving that way. But I don't have that run, jump, try to fly dream anymore, ever. Again,
If,
since
if, if space could speak, what message do you believe it has for the human heart? This is a completely different question that I ask because you're out there, you're 4 months, and you have a different connection, a different reality. What would you think if you could have a connection when you were in a connection with space?
yeah, I think that it would look us in the face and the reality, the reality check, like, you're all in it. You're all in space, right? You're on a planet in space right now. And, and always, Lolly, we're always saying that to kids, like, you know what? You're on a planet in space, this ocean planet spinning at 1,000 miles an hour right now. We're all in it. And just how special this place is, right? And
Connection?
yeah, connection, absolutely. Interconnectivity, I think, of everything, right?
Hmm.
Not everything that makes up this planet that we're on, but also this planet that's in this bigger space.
yeah.
And I think it would remind us that even though we're small,
Hmm.
because we are, as a planet in space, grand scheme of the universe, tiny little place, right?
Marble.
But not insignificant, right? I think that's what's so cool to me about it is it's like it's not about the size, right? It's this is a case where size doesn't matter. It's like a, this beautiful place that for some reason, not even in our own solar system is there anything like it where we could survive. And you think about it, a little closer, a little further from the sun, not so good for us. All of that makes this planet what it is as our life support system would not be there if that was the case. Move it a little in or out. And um, I think that's what it would say is like, wake up, you are in space.
Yeah.
And
Do you
you
think
need to start behaving like a crewmate on your
Yeah.
planetary spaceship.
do you think being there influenced your spirituality?
I think it reinforced it. I mean, I
Mhm.
already was, that way, I guess. I would certainly not call myself religious in any way. I just, in terms of practicing religion and all of that, but I am a Christian, was raised that way. I have those beliefs. I've always believed that, um, that there shouldn't be any conflict between science and religion. That's all is,
It's all
what makes it
together. It's all
possible
connected.
for us. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think I was just really blessed with the opportunity to have a different perspective on it, right? To
Mhm.
experience it in a different way.
Mhm.
And I think you shouldn't deny those experiences, right? You should let them come in. Like I always describe it like I wasn't looking out the window just seeing Earth. I was experience it like it was getting into my heart and my mind
Mhm.
as I was looking at it. But it wasn't just a visual thing. It was very much
A frequency, like
yeah,
you're,
like part of you almost, right?
yeah.
Very
Mhm.
transcendent kind
Mhm.
of experience, and one where you'd see all of this vibrance on the earth, even things like weather patterns, hurricanes moving across the ocean and stuff that
Mhm.
just look like these beautiful white fluffy swirly things, and yet it's something very different from the other side,
Mhm.
right? People are not thinking, "Ooh, pretty white fluffy thing coming over my house in Florida," right? and and yet so for me I had to kind of balance those different understandings of what I was experiencing. And it was like I was floating there watching it, experiencing it with the mute button on, right? You're not hearing any of the
Mhm.
sounds of Earth or feeling any of the air or the wind or any of that. So it was an interesting perspective to have.
And as a challenge, what do you think it was your hardest challenge or problem while you were out there in space? Because I keep on thinking, because I get panic attack in these closed spaces, and it's like I keep on because you
I
might
know.
have challenges, somebody gets sick or a funny story. I mean, everything can happen there, and you just have to deal with it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. You have to deal with it, and you have to deal with it there, right? You can't escape it. You have
Mm-hmm.
to deal with it there, and and you're human beings having to deal with it. And I think that was one of the things that was really good about the way we trained as a crew was that we accepted that everybody's not going to have a good day every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? People are going to maybe float out of their crew compartment in the morning and they're just going to be in a bad mood. And so from all the training we had done together, we knew, okay, Frank must not be feeling good today. And then you'd give Frank a space, and then if that didn't resolve itself, we had all agreed that we can confront each other about it. Not, like, hey, Frank, what the hell's going on? But, hey, Frank, kind of
Get
like,
out of here.
Open up
dude,
the door.
like pick up
Go
the
to the
slack,
timeout
right?
chair.
No, I know. Go float in the corner somewhere. But no, I mean, it was just this acceptance of that. And I joke at home, I'm like, it would probably be good if I could apply a lot of that stuff to like living with my own family, but sometimes it just doesn't work with the people you're closest with, right? But I didn't feel like that was a big challenge. I really felt like that was just part of how you live together and work together on this mission in space, right?
Yeah.
And Anna Marie, I mean, it's a relatively confined space, but it's not small. I mean, think about the room you're in right now, and
Uh-huh.
imagine if you weren't just stuck on the floor. Imagine if you could float and have all of that volume around you that was
Uh-huh.
totally useful to you. It just expand. I mean, it seems like a small space, but it's like, oh my gosh, now and what I would normally think I could only fit 3 people here, I can
Uh-huh.
fit 10 people because some can be on the ceiling and some can be floating above
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it becomes and your brain, it's really cool how your brain and your body
Uh-huh.
adjust to that and have this
Uh-huh.
this three-dimensional understanding of what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And it makes it a much more, I mean, it's a really liberating, beautiful kind of thing to be able to have
Uh-huh.
that, first of all, the ability to move like that free
Yeah.
in that whole volume, but to be able to, feel like you're in a much bigger space.
Yeah, I guess
So if
like
you
it's being in a pool. If you
Yeah,
imagine yourself in
Yeah,
a
it's very
pool.
similar. Yeah.
so if you
yeah.
have a fight with somebody in space, you just go to the ceiling and the other one goes to the ground.
Oh my gosh. Or you go to the other end of the space station. I mean, it's
Mm.
huge. It's like, the equivalent of
Yeah.
like
Take a
a
walk.
six bedroom house, take a float down to the other, to Europe, the European module or the Japanese
Yeah.
module or something.
Well,
I
well,
love it. I love it.
you did a spacewalk.
I did. And once I wish I would have done a second one because then I think my brain could have really latched on to the memory of it. I'm so grateful for the pictures and videos of that because super surreal experience to go out in your own little personal spaceship and float out and crawl along the outside of the space station. And I always joke, my mom, I think that was where she was the most afraid was while I was doing the spacewalk.
Uh-huh.
And she'll be like, oh, yeah, there should be a two hands on the space station rule at all
Yeah.
times kind of thing. But it was super special experience. And it was one of those where I felt like it was going on forever and I felt like it got over super fast.
Right.
Just this kind of discombobulation in your brain. Um, but to go back just really quickly, Anna Maria, to what was the most
Mhm.
challenging thing,
Yes, yes, yes.
aside from how we worry about our
Yeah,
families and that
yeah.
kind of stuff, is keeping track of your stuff. Everything floats, right?
Oh
Not
my
just you,
gosh.
everything floats.
Uh-huh.
So this pen would have a piece of Velcro on it so that I could stick it to something. My pants had Velcro on them so I could stick stuff to me. Everything floats. And so you have to think very differently about how you deal with your stuff.
So you have to
And
be
I mean,
organized.
you have to be organized, or you have to really keep track of using the Velcro and the, sticking stuff to you, or making sure that you tend it because it will float. And while Newton is right with all the laws of motion and stuff, you know, the thing in the space station is we have ventilation systems. We have an air conditioner. So there's this airflow moving through the station all the time. So technically in microgravity, if you were to let go of your pen without imparting any load on it right here, just let go of it, should stay right here.
Uh-huh.
It should just float right there in front of you. And stuff will
Uh-huh.
if you're gentle with it. But if you just let go of your pen, first of all, you've imparted a load, so it's going to want to move in that direction. And you've got this ventilation system that's going to want to push it throughout this. I mean, my crewmate Frank, I swear he lost his glasses. Like, I don't know.
It's
Thankfully,
blessed.
he had a spare pair. I had a spare pair he could borrow. And then they would show up. Like 2 weeks later, you'd find them in the return vent of one
Oh
of
my
the,
God.
air conditioning system things, or you'd see it. You'd be floating down the module and there'd be Frank's glasses like floating in the middle of the module somewhere. So it was really weird because we get so used to just sticking stuff down on the desk or on the table or
Right.
the, counter and walking away. And you can't do that up there. So it's
Yeah.
everything.
No, I
It's
was thinking if
Yeah.
I was there, I mean, it would be embarrassing because I'm not that organized. I was thinking all my stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, there are crew members who are really, really challenged by that. I won't name any names, but I mean, I remember witnessing some things where I'm like, oh my gosh, how is that person living in their crew compartment? Because we each had our own like private sleep space
Yeah.
about the size of an old phone booth. And I mean, mine wasn't beautifully organized, but I had like my books were here and my computer was over here, and all my clothes were either folded up and put in this bag that was down on what you would think of as the floor, or I had them stuck to the wall, like this is what I'm going to wear tomorrow and stuff like that. But some of these, I looked in, I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you even sleep in there? It was just this mess of stuff, just floating and stuck
Socks,
to the walls. Yeah,
socks
yeah,
all
just
over. Yeah.
everywhere.
Mhm.
And but what was interesting is those same people struggled a little bit with managing like their tools throughout the day and that kind of thing. But where they might have been challenged that way, they were super, expert or talented at something else. And so that's kind of that strength and weakness thing too. I know, okay, so and so can't keep their crew compartment organized, or they can't remember where that Allen wrench is, but they are the one I know I can count on if this is going wrong or this is happening. So
That's
it all
secondary.
balances out.
You know, Nicole, my favorite story from your book is from where you were swimming. Can you tell us the story?
Oh yeah.
So
Those
that
are the
was,
stories that we want something
oh my
different that you
gosh.
have never been asked.
That was very early. So that was very early training. That was actually before I was in the astronaut office. Before I got selected to be an astronaut, I worked for 2 years in a job where I was flying on this airplane that we called the shuttle training aircraft. It was this modified Gulfstream jet that we used to train the astronauts how to land the space shuttle. And it was so much fun. I got to sit between the instructor pilot and the astronaut. It was kind of like I was one of the crew members on the space shuttle. And it was a super fun flight, but it was the airplane, I mean, literally like diving at the ground, just like the space shuttle would, and then, prepping for landing. So to fly on that airplane and to be allowed to fly in these little T-38 jets that we flew around into, again, super fun. You had to go do Navy water survival. And man, I'll tell you, just like that prep that I was talking to you about for doing the aquanaut stuff, where water was this thing that I tolerated and did what I had to get through with, and to be able to scuba dive. Um, this had a swim test. It had like this helo dunker thing. I had a number of different things, but the biggest challenge to me was the swim test. That wasn't just a swim test like in your bathing suit. It was a swim test in a full flight suit, a helmet, boots, gloves. I mean, so you weighed like twice as much as what you would normally weigh. And then so you had to do like these three laps of the pool. You could do any stroke you wanted, but you couldn't repeat a stroke. And they were okay with you using the backstroke, but they really preferred if you didn't.
That you didn't.
So that you didn't. It was okay.
Okay.
I mean, they accepted that, okay, this person is
Yeah.
trying to survive. So if they need to use the backstroke, that's fine. So we get in the pool, and one of my colleagues, Clay Anderson, he's like I don't know, if it was a football player or a soccer player or something,
Big
really,
guy.
fit guy, big guy. And he's got all the gear on and stuff. And he's in front of me, and he goes to go first. And I swear it looked like he was doing the breaststroke. And it was almost like the water was here and that Clay was just like swimming across the top of the water. It never looked like he was sinking or anything was happening. It's like, oh, he's just breaststroking right across the top of the water. It must be so easy, right? So I'm like, I'm so inspired by him, right? So I'm like, okay, breaststroke, that's what I'm going to do first. And I go to do this. Now, keep in mind, the flight suits these were like Navy issue training flight suits, and the boots were already soaking wet and they were too big, and the gloves were too big, and the helmet was like none of this stuff fit right either,
Yeah.
right?
Sounds like a sink suit.
It was
Yeah.
it was
Mhm.
terrifying, actually.
Mhm.
And so I go to swim and I'm like, okay, breaststroke. Thank you, Clay, for showing me how to do this. I go and my first stroke, I'm like, I'm like starting to go down. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. So I go to do the second one and I'm sinking. And somehow I make it to the other end of the pool, not drowning, doing that breaststroke. And I'm like, okay, they don't want us doing the backstroke, but okay, I'll do a side stroke. So on my second leg, after I really don't know how I made it through the first leg. And so now I'm on my side sinking as I'm doing this side stroke thing. It was, I really, and this wasn't a deep pool, but if you step down, if you put your feet on the bottom, you had to start over again. So there was no freaking way I was going to, excuse my language again, I was going to put my feet on the bottom of the pool. So now I'm side stroking and, sideways and all this stuff. And I get to the next one, I'm like, okay, I got a backstroke. I can't make this if I don't. So I come around the corner to go on this third leg. And so the other thing that was really like embarrassing about this too was, so here's Clay and I are coming in from NASA to do this thing, but there's this whole, I don't know if you call it a platoon or what, of these young Navy recruits that are about to jump in the pool after us to do this, right? And they're all probably like super swimmers and can do this stuff no problem. They're in their 20s or whatever. And I remember coming around for this third leg and I'm getting ready to backstroke. And again, I start sinking and I hear from the bleachers of these kids, I hear, ma'am, the helmet floats, like nobody had told us that, right? That here's how you use your equipment, right? So I just hear this like echoing, the helmet floats and stuff. And so I just arched my back a little bit and put my head like and it was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And now I could like backstroke and just like float my head out and make it to the end of the pool and then inflate my thing and do my little treading for, I could tread forever, but to do that swimming, it was the most, um, back to the initial fear question, it was the scariest I've ever been about like surviving. But then in my mind, knowing, okay, you've got to get through this, right?
Yeah.
If you don't get through it this time, they're going to make you do it again.
Yeah. You have no choice.
Yeah, if you don't do it, you're not going to get to fly in these really cool airplanes, right? And I think really was that nobody before we got in the pool said, okay, here's the gear you have, and here's how you can use it to help you.
Mm.
Like this kid who thankfully
Did they want you to figure that out?
I don't know. Or I don't know if they were trying to see, are you just strong enough to get through it, what it was.
Well, that guy who
But
yelled was an angel.
oh my gosh, yeah. And I wonder, I don't even know who he was. I just know it was somebody out there. And he's probably this old lady, just get her through it so we can get in the pool. And I am so grateful for that kid just, screaming that out. And then one of my other colleagues, Terry Lee, who if I hated swimming, she super hated swimming. And so when she was getting ready to go, I'm like, the helmet floats, Terry. So in case she hadn't heard the guy before, and she's like thumbs up out of the water, but it felt so good afterwards to be done with it. And then to think, oh my gosh, I hope I never, ever have to do that again. And then a couple years later came Aquarius under sea training, which was But now, you know, it's funny. Like in hindsight, I'm so grateful for that too. Like when I go scuba diving now, I feel so much more confident in the water because of what I had to do
Of
Yeah.
to,
course. Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
you
to
were
get
prepped
that.
so well
Oh
for
my
Yeah.
gosh.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
It's
it's
like
did
funny
going
how
with your
that
fear.
Mhm.
fear motivates you. It's like, and
Mhm.
you know, and the embarrassment too. Like, oh man, I don't want to be the one that freaks out at 60 feet in the
Yeah.
water, has to swim
Yeah.
to the surface, gets pulled down, you know, almost drowns. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's going with your fear, not leaving your fear
Uh,
behind. Just fly with your fear, go with your fear. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if I could overcome a furry spider or snake fear. I don't want to be in a place with those kinds of things.
Oh
Don't need to get
no.
over that.
Well,
The jungle, Nicole.
when you were in space, you had a hobby that you did, which brought you into what you're doing today. Can you tell our audience what that hobby or
Yeah, I think I'm guessing that you're referring to painting in
yes?
space. And yeah, you know, and it was something that I wouldn't have thought about on my own to do up there, especially on that first flight, because I think I was so wrapped up in, okay, I need to have all my checklists ready to go, you know, be prepared for the work I was going to do while I was there. If I was thinking about bringing anything extra, it was, you know, pictures of my family and friends to be able to float in front of the window and take a picture of, or my son's little stuffed animal, or, you know, stuff like that to share the experience with them. And I'm really super grateful to my friend Mary Jane Anderson. I always name her because she's awesome. She was one of our flight crew equipment people, which means she's one of the people that helped pack all of our stuff to take with us to space. So all the official, here's how many pairs of underwear you get, here's, you know, your running shorts, your hygiene kit, all that kind of stuff, all the
Mm.
that kind of thing. But she also is the one that's helping you with the extra stuff, like those things you want to take for your family. And while we were putting that stuff together, she's like, you know, Nicole, you're going to be living in space for months on the space station. You're going to be not just working there, you're going to be living there too. So
Yeah.
you might want to think about bringing something with you that you enjoy doing down here on Earth, you know, because you will have some spare time. And so, long story short, I chose like a little watercolor kit. I took a paintbrush from a friend of mine who is an amazing watercolor painter and brought that with me to space. And then I could bring that back to him after the flight. And yeah, and I would paint a little bit at night. It took a little while, and you had to figure out how to paint in a place where everything floats. I was doing watercolor. And so, you know, dipping my brush into a floating ball of water and, you know, and then watching how that colored ball of water just kind of moved around on the end of the brush. And, you know, as long as you didn't shake it off, it was just going to float on the end of the brush. It was really weird. And, um, and it was kind of neat because I wish I would have videotaped it because I think it would have been a really beautiful way to just through painting with watercolors describe to people in a very different way what it's like just be in this place where everything floats, where you float, where all your stuff floats, you know, and how you have to manage that and to show that it's not really more difficult, it's just different
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
of where you
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you figure it out. It's like, oh, this floating ball of colored water. If I actually touch the brush with it to the paper, the whole blob of colored water goes into the paper. So you can't really paint like that. So I had to figure out how far do I need to pull the tip of the brush away so that I can drag the ball of colored water on the paper. And I think that would have been a fun thing to videotape, but I
Mhm.
didn't. So
And Nicole, medicine. And what happens if you get sick out there?
Well, we've got basically a full pharmacy and a whole
Mhm.
like surgical setup if we need to
Oh,
use it. And
surgical. You can have
you
surgery
know,
there.
you could. And just like that floating ball of water, imagine like
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
if you cut yourself, you know,
No.
you started to bleed, it's going to be like this ball of blood unless you shook it off and it's all little balls of blood.
Hmm.
But technically, we could do surgery there. We haven't had to do that. I think somebody has had to do a couple sutures before. I mean, imagine you get flying through the space station. It's really fun. You're
Yeah.
moving and you're flying, but
Mhm.
there are big metal hatches and,
Uh-huh.
you know, solid stuff that, you know, you can bonk your noggin on or
Hmm.
run into. And so, you know, that's happened before where people have cut themselves or something and had to do some suturing or glue themselves together or something. But thankfully, and I'm going to knock on the wood, you know, nothing major up there.
Mm-hmm.
We have it, and we can communicate with our flight surgeons on the ground. If something was happening like that, we wouldn't just, work it on our own. We'd be talking to our doctors on the
Okay.
ground about
Mm-hmm.
how to, and if we didn't have communication, we have loads of procedures to help us do that. And uh, for every crew of 6, there are 2 people trained that do special training as medical officers.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. So that was kind of cool to do that too.
Yeah, because I suppose medicine, the same medicine you take here on Earth, on space, would act differently. I don't know. I think the Korean astronaut that we interviewed, she said something about that, about that you can't take certain medicines out there.
Yeah, what they want you to do is if you're planning to take something there, they want you to, if you have never taken it before on the ground, to know how your body's going to respond to it. They want to make sure you do a trial of it here on Earth first before you take
Mm-hmm.
it in space.
Mm-hmm.
And so that at a minimum is something that you need to do. Now there's medicines that if you're in kind of an emergent situation or something's going on, we might have to give it to you if you need care that way. But for anything that you're thinking you might take while you're up there, you need to take it down here first. And I
Yeah.
did that. I tried, I've always had kind of low bone density, borderline osteopenic, and even before I flew the first time. And so, bone loss is one of the major effects of being in that floaty environment where you don't have any load on you anymore. And so I thought, oh, maybe they do a lot of studies on bone density and stuff. And one of the things that they were starting to do was kind of prophylactically use the bisphosphonates like Fosamax or one of those other meds. And so I thought, oh, maybe I'll participate in that study. So to be able to do that, I had to try it here on Earth before I flew. So I took 1 pill of that, and I swear every side effect you could have,
Oh
aside
my,
from, my teeth falling out of my head and that kind of stuff that can be longer term,
Uh-huh.
every side effect, the kind of severe nausea, headaches, all these kinds of muscle achiness, from 1 pill, I had that. So guess what?
All of them.
Didn't do that in space.
Yeah. So
Well, can you imagine throwing up on space? I mean, you're getting
Yeah,
I'm sure it's happened.
I don't want to
Oh, it
think
happens
about
all the
it.
time. It happens
Oh,
all the
really?
time.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that that did not happen for me. I felt good getting there and, even coming home, but I watched some of my crewmates, and it is a different experience to
oh
puke in
my
space. You
God.
better have that, you want that bag
Mm.
right in front of you, because it's just like bleh, projectile.
Can you?
And
Where's my bag? I don't
yeah,
remember. Where did I
yeah,
put
you
it?
get the
Oh my God.
bag. And
So
you
you
got, yeah.
so you were painting watercolors
Yeah.
in space.
I just painted one. I did one painting. It was of this really
Mhm.
gorgeous island that I saw it called Las Rocas. It's on the northern coast of Venezuela. I mean, I remember floating in the front of the window and seeing this place. And
Yeah.
to me, it looked like somebody had reached down with a paintbrush and painted a wave on the ocean. I mean, it just looked like this. It was so gorgeous. And so
Mm.
I was taking pictures of, what I was seeing through the window like I would always do. And so I made a point of saving that one and say, okay, this is what I'll paint, and printed it out on scrap paper. And, because you can't really do like plein air painting there, because you can float in front of the window and paint if you want, I suppose.
Yeah.
But not what you're seeing out, because at, 17,500 miles an hour, which is about 5 miles a second, not
No
before
oil
we can get,
painting.
oops, sorry, that's gone. It's gone. I can't, I'm not using it as my reference anymore. So I had to, print it out on scrap paper. And yeah, it was really fun it's absolutely a personal highlight
I
of the
think,
space flight
yeah,
experience.
you took the best medium to
Oh,
paint with.
absolutely. And there's reasons why I couldn't take other stuff like acrylic paints. Our friend Richard Garriott, he took acrylic paints with him, and he did kind of a Jackson Pollock thing. He had this plastic box, and he stuck the paper all over the walls and then he just squirted the paints in, and wherever the balls of paint went and hit the paper,
Uh-huh.
that was his. He doesn't even. I tell him, I'm like, dude, you painted in space. He's like, I'm not really a painter. I'm like, yeah, but you use
Oh my
space to
God, people would
paint,
buy
Right.
you use
that.
microgravity.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so. We're going to have one on display in Miami, and to sell. And so it's like yeah, it's just this different experience. And it was, I don't know. I really appreciate the opportunity I'm so grateful to Mary Jane for, you know,
Yeah.
for encouraging me to consider something. And you think about it, the collective we, as you know, astronauts have been creating artwork in space since the first humans flew to space. You
Mhm.
know, pencil
Oh.
drawings of
Mhm.
things, you know, poetry, playing music. It's just been going, humans, whether you were told you can take this stuff with you or not, we're taking it with
Yeah.
us. You know, there was a
Yeah.
Gemini mission. They had like this little miniature harmonica and jingle bells, and they played jingle bells, you know, from space. And, you know, two like fighter pilot guys that you would never think would have thought to bring a harmonica and you know, jingle bells to space. And so it's in us. I think it's what, you know, it's the kind of thing that puts the human in human space flight. Um, and I love people discovering these kinds of things. You know, my friend Dan that wove baskets in space. I mean, there's, you know, anything you can think of. Karen Nyberg, our friend, she quilted in space. I mean, it's
Wow.
just, you know,
Yeah.
people, they want to take what they love doing down
Mhm.
here with them
Yeah.
wherever they go.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really interesting for kids to discover that, right?
Mm-hmm.
To like, oh, you can do science and art. You know, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do
Of
just
course.
one, you know, use your
Mm-hmm.
whole brain, that kind of thing.
Of course.
And it's a lot of what Lolly and I are doing all the time with the kids is, you know, a big part of that is
Space for art.
yeah, with Space for Art
Mm-hmm.
is very much
Mm-hmm.
you know, and thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Maclovia, for telling that story is um and let's share a link to the documentary after with this too, because I
Oh,
think
I'll
it's
put
really,
that in.
you know, for people to see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, but there's this, you know, even when you're coming into a group of kids who are going through something challenging and you're bringing this inspiration of space and the creativity and all of that kind of thing, I think they kind of latch on to this fact that like, oh my gosh, this person's an astronaut and she does art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or, you know, here's this person who's an artist and she creates art about something scientific, you know, something medical. You know, I think about Lolly, like your infusions. I mean, that's very much this artistic presentation of something that people think technical about, right? And yet it brings it to life in a way that you might not otherwise appreciate. And so, and I think kids need to know that and understand that that's something that they should pay attention to all of their talents, you know, to bring those to bear, to be the best problem solvers and, you know, do good things. And so it makes me happy to be able to tell stories about astronauts
Oh,
quilting
Love
yeah.
and
it, love it,
writing
love it. It's an
poetry. And,
amazing story. I mean, it went
yeah.
different. I mean, what you can do in space, and I hope these questions were different because you've been in other, I suppose, other podcast interviews, etc. So we wanted to make something different and learning who are you. So it's amazing.
I just wanted to
Thank
clarify
you.
that Lolly and Nicole are part of Space for Art.
Sporting
And
the shirt.
yes, yes. And they help many, many children all over the world. And it's a beautiful thing. And I just have one more question for you. Nicole, what would you tell your younger self? Do you get that a lot?
You know, I really
Your
don't. I
kid.
don't actually, but the thing I would tell myself, and it goes back to some of the, you know, conversation we were having earlier, but I didn't really say this directly. You know, I'll get the question a lot about, you know, what do you have to do to be an astronaut? All this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what was the most challenging thing about becoming? The most challenging thing for me was picking up the pen and filling out the application
Mm.
because it wasn't that anybody had ever told me I couldn't, you know, you got dark hair, your feet are too big, you can't be an astronaut because you're a girl, whatever. Nobody ever said that to me. I'm very grateful for that. But for some reason, I always felt like, and I'm just using this as an example, like astronaut was this thing other special people get to do, right? Why would they pick me? You know, what have I ever done? You know, it's very much talking myself out of, like doubting in some way my
Yeah.
own self
Mm-hmm.
before anybody else ever told me no, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or looking into even looking into what the criteria were, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Mm-hmm.
very grateful for people that were, you know, mentors that said, okay, you know, you want to do this, pick up the pen, fill out the application. And it's amazing how that one step, I would not have picked up that pen without somebody else encouraging me to do it. And so I think just like not wanting to walk away from my mom's legs to go meet somebody on the beach to build a
Yeah.
sandcastle, or maybe not, deciding on my own that ballet or softball is something I'd want to do. I always kind of waited for somebody else to put me in that place. And I would encourage myself to not do that, to figure out what it is I'm curious about, what I really enjoy, and then discover what the things are, like filling out the application,
Yeah.
to do to make those possible.
Do the action in order to manifest.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. Love it.
It's funny how we talk ourselves out of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
no
all the
reason.
thinking. It's all the thinking that goes in your head. Like, should I do
Yeah.
it? Shouldn't I do it? No, I can't do that. It's just too much. And then all you have to do,
Yeah.
you just fill it out.
Well, the
Yeah.
easiest thing to say is no and walk
Yeah.
away. The hardest
I
thing is
know.
to say yes.
Yeah.
So I think that the
it is hard to
yeah.
listen to somebody else saying no to you though, too, like
Yeah.
the fear
Yeah.
of somebody saying no to you, but like, oh my gosh, get over that. Yeah.
So
Because
I
you
think
know what's
the
funny?
question,
I know,
yeah.
Anna Maria, you want to ask me something else. I'm talking right over you.
No, don't
So
worry.
but
Don't
what I would
worry.
say
I'm
is
talking now.
it's so funny because in this talking ourselves out of stuff and everything, it's getting the no is not always a bad thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so cool how, and it's happened for me for sure, like where the decision that I thought I wanted to have made didn't get made, or the job I wanted didn't happen, or the whatever didn't go the way I was hoping that it really would. And then the opportunities that opened up as a result of that, like just being present in that, that denial of whatever it was you thought you wanted, and how you can open yourself up to other things, or how the people that are telling you no might actually have other opportunities for you
Love it.
Yeah, the
to
doors
be in
are
a
opening.
position to get yes later,
Mhm.
So that, yeah, that's cool. All right, I'm going to zip it. Okay.
No,
Annie.
the question was exactly like that. I mean, it's the not doubting, self-doubt. When you self-doubt, I mean, you cannot manifest. I mean, if we hear Nicole, she's a manifester. I
Mhm.
mean, everything you've done, I mean, you were not doubting, you were positive, you were feeling everything. And I think it's a lesson for a lot of women that we can do it.
Mhm.
Because we see men in space, but then we're seeing Nicole, everything you have done it. I'm what I was gonna say. I'm amazed because it's a message for women. I mean, we tend to self-doubt, and especially Loli, in Latin America. I mean, in people my age, well, I'm 58. I mean, they
You're
get
a youngster.
married. Yeah. So you're with the husband, be a good wife, you go maybe 2 years to college. I mean, people my age. And just hearing Nicole, I mean, your dreams were out there. You didn't self-doubt. You had all the encouragement. I mean, you you had the courage even to be vulnerable. And it's amazing.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you seeing that in me, but I also know that I did have to open myself up to accepting the encouragement, like buying into it, I guess, to questioning, going to people that when I look back on it, probably knew more about me than I knew about myself, and they were willing to like, I think about it when I went to these few people that I asked about the astronaut thing. When I went to them, I could just imagine them thinking, "Oh my gosh, she's a complete whack job. What does she think, about this being that?" But they didn't do that. None of them. These were three men, by the way, too. None of them did that. They didn't go, "Oh, Nicole, well, that astronaut thing, a lot of people apply. It's a really long shot to get in that." They didn't do any of the discouragement stuff. And
Mm.
they didn't go, Lolly's probably heard this before. They didn't go in the other direction either. They go, "Oh, Nicole, you make the greatest astronaut there ever was. You've got to do this." They didn't do that. Although, as I joke, I like to believe they think I'm the greatest astronaut that ever was now. But I mean, I keep raising this pen up. It's like they gave me permission to do the one thing I had control of in the whole process, which was to fill out that application. No one else could do that for me, right?
Mhm.
But I could have walked away and said, "Oh, no, no." But that's the thing we have to do. I think it's just like the fear thing, figuring out those things that we have control of that can help us overcome that fear. It's the same thing, figuring out the things that we have control of to make those things we want to do come to life, or other opportunities open up as a result of it.
Yeah, to make the shift.
Yeah, yeah,
To make
it's a
the
big
shift
deal.
because you became a leader by going through this whole process.
In some ways, yeah.
Yes.
But you know what I love is that, and I'm looking at, at Maria Lolly in this on the screen here, because I think you have to welcome people into your life that are going to continue to lift you up, right? That are going to help you expand on what you're already curious and excited about, and maybe help you discover things about it that you would never have known exist around it. And I mean, that's what I think about when I think about Space for Art and how we're working together, is that there's so much possibility in it for, when we think about it, for the kids that we're working with and stuff. But man, what has come to life for us too, as um, just putting ourselves out there to go do these projects with kids has, I don't know, it's opened up more opportunity for us to do other things with kids around the world. But it's really, I think, I mean, I look at the three of you on the screen too, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd like to believe that what we did with Space for Art put Lolly in a place to do what you guys are doing right now, to come together this way and do this. I mean, I don't want to take total credit, but I think the work that we were doing really opened up her heart and mind to other things as well, and how those talents that she has could be brought to bear in other meaningful ways. So I'm really grateful for that as
It's
well.
An amazing message, Nicole.
divine connections,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it was
There's,
through
as our buddy
Maclovia.
Gordo says, the serendipity, right?
Yeah, we need to interview Gordo.
Synchronicity. I mean, everything has been,
all those words.
And one thing we do, I think Maclovia went to get, we end up with the cards, with angel cards that Maclovia, now that she's around there, your angel
there she
cards. And usually the card that falls, that's your message for
This one is
Okay,
daily
Maggie.
guidance,
Okay.
angel cards. This one is healing with the angels.
Okay. Let's see. Let's put it out there. Let's go healing with the angels. Let's
Okay.
do that one.
Okay. So just this is Nicole's reading, so we're going to
Enrico
This
is
is probably
present.
good, Lolly,
Rico is
after our
there.
earlier conversation.
I'm sorry, my dog was going crazy. He was barking and barking and barking.
But we didn't hear him. We couldn't listen.
Here he is.
to the one.
I muted it. Okay, so I'm just mixing the cards.
Yeah. Make it good, Maclovia. I can use
Okay.
it.
This is so this is, let me see. I saw this master astrologer and tarot card reader. He just cut the deck in half like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
And what
And
does
is that it?
say?
I can't
Yes.
see it.
I see flying
You're
angels.
flying with Cupid-y kind of things. What does it say?
It says new love. Now that doesn't
Oh,
mean
Oh my God.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean
what?
let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get my other glasses. The writing's pretty small. It says a new chapter in your love life begins, whether it is with a new partner or rekindled love in a current relationship.
It could have been the one
No,
on the
it's
other
always
side.
the card that
this.
falls, Maclovia. Please.
So, okay.
Okay, edit. Work your editing magic.
We're getting her into trouble right now.
No, this one came Serenity.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Serenity now. A mistake.
That one fell out
Yeah, it's always the one that falls out. I don't know why you did divide it.
because
Yeah,
I saw the tarot card reader do it.
Yeah, and she took the card from the other side. That was
But I'm
probably
not
it.
a
She
pro.
took the wrong one.
I'm not a pro, so
That was gonna cause a divorce.
Yeah.
Oh, it says you're
destined baloney.
it says you are
Podcast and divorce together. No.
it says you're moving into a time of greater inner peace and tranquility.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll take that one.
That one's better.
I
can edit.
with a partner.
My dog is being very, very naughty.
Oh,
We don't hear him. He's making noise. He's just moving around, which is what they do.
He's ripping up my Post-its.
Oh.
He's ripping up my Post-its. Come here, Rico. Anyway, you know what? Thank you, Nicole, for joining us.
You are welcome.
What a gift. What a beautiful
Yes.
gift to have you. We are so grateful. And as I said,
Well, me too. Me too. It's
Yeah.
a good week for that too. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I am grateful.
Oh yes,
for you
happy
guys.
Thank
happy
you.
holidays.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, I don't know if that's what, you might have to edit that out. Who knows?
No,
No, we
it's
don't have
fine.
to edit it.